Everyday Millionaires: How Ordinary People Built Extraordinary Wealth, and How You Can Too, by Chris Hogan. Picture this: a quiet moment that changes everything. One of those crossroads where you decide what you're really made of. For a young single mother named Sheila, that moment arrived at a book signing. Her 10-year-old son stood beside her as she waited in line. When her turn came, she didn't just place the book on the table, she dropped it with a definitive thud. The sound echoed like a gavel. Locking eyes with author Chris Hogan, she said, "Chris, the cycle ends here." She didn't need to elaborate. Everyone felt the weight of those words. Generations of playing small, of believing wealth belonged to someone else, of poor me, why me, and not me, thinking all of it was about to end. And her son was there to witness it. That story gives me chills every single time. It captures the question we all wrestle with. Is financial freedom actually possible for regular people? Or is becoming a millionaire just a fairy tale, reserved for the lucky few born into the right families, with the right connections and fancy degrees? We've been fed a steady diet of myths about wealth. The American dream is dead, they say. The rich get richer, while the poor get poorer. Ordinary folks like us just can't catch a break. But what if everything we've been told is completely backwards? That's what obsessed financial coach Chris Hogan. Together with his team at Ramsey Solutions, he launched the largest study of millionaires ever conducted in the United States. And I mean massive. They connected with over 10,000 millionaires, real people with a net worth of at least $1 million. They asked them everything. Where'd you grow up? What school did you attend? What's your job? How did you actually build this wealth? The resulting book, Everyday Millionaires, isn't just a financial guide. It's eye-opening. It pulls back the curtain on wealthy lives and reveals a reality that's far more ordinary and far more achievable than anyone's been telling us. By the time we're done today, you'll understand the simple, repeatable blueprint thousands of everyday people have used to build extraordinary wealth. You'll see the myths that have been holding you back for exactly what they are: complete garbage. And most importantly, you'll realize this path isn't reserved for other people. It's available to you right now. You just have to decide that for you and your family, the cycle ends here. Let's clear something up first. When you hear the word millionaire, what pops into your head? Probably someone emerging from a ridiculously expensive car, dripping in designer labels, living in some sprawling mansion. We imagine inherited fortunes, risky Wall Street gambles, or tech geniuses who struck gold overnight. Movies and media have trained us to see wealth as flashy, exclusive, and honestly kind of out of reach. But Chris Hogan's research says we need to toss that entire image in the garbage. The truth: most millionaires in America are hiding in plain sight. They're the teacher down the street, the accountant in the next cubicle, the farmer at your local market. They drive used cars, clip coupons, and live in modest homes. And almost none of them got there the way you'd expect. This gap between what we imagine and what's real is built on myths. Lies we tell ourselves to feel better about where we are. The first big myth is that wealthy people had everything handed to them on a silver platter. It's comforting, isn't it? Takes us off the hook. But the data obliterates this fantasy. The study found that a staggering 79% of millionaires received zero inheritance. Let that sink in. 8 out of 10 started with nothing from their families. Only 21% received any inheritance at all. And when you dig deeper, just 3%, 3 out of 100, inherited $1 million or more. This means the vast majority of millionaires are first-generation rich. They built it themselves, from scratch. So where did they come from? Not from wealthy families. 8 out of 10 millionaires came from families at or below middle-class income levels. They weren't waiting for a handout. Their hands were too busy working. Take Thomas, for instance. He grew up with literally nothing. Dysfunctional family, bounced between foster homes, remembers owning just 2 shirts and 2 pairs of pants for years. He learned 2 things early. He hated being poor. and he'd have to work for everything. He went to college, became a math teacher, and spent his entire career in education. No groundbreaking discoveries, no lucky breaks. He just consistently paid himself first, stayed out of debt, and made smart investments. Today, this former foster kid has a net worth of $2.6 million. Thomas isn't the exception. He's the rule. These people didn't inherit money. They inherited work ethic. The second big myth? That wealthy people take crazy risks with their money. We picture day trading, cryptocurrency gambling, or high-stakes business deals that could crash at any moment. Again, the research paints a much more, boring picture. And when it comes to wealth building, boring is beautiful. The number one tool millionaires used wasn't single stocks. In fact, not one of the 10,000 millionaires surveyed listed single stocks in their top 3 wealth-building factors. It wasn't Bitcoin, risky partnerships, or some secret investment vehicle. The number one contributor was the company 401k. That's right, the humble employer-sponsored retirement plan. Nearly 8 out of 10 millionaires reached their status by consistently investing in their 401k or similar plan. They didn't chase get-rich-quick schemes. The average millionaire in the study didn't hit $1 million until age 49. This wasn't a sprint. It was a marathon, run slowly and steadily over decades. They understood that what looks like luck from the outside is almost always years of hard work nobody sees. The third myth is that millionaires have some special advantage in education or career. We assume they all have degrees from prestigious private universities and hold high-paying corner office positions. Let's check the facts. Yes, education matters. 88% of millionaires have a bachelor's degree, compared to just 33% of the general population. But where did they get those degrees? Not from fancy, exclusive universities. 62% graduated from public state schools, 8% went to community college, and 9% never graduated from college at all. They proved that the name on your diploma matters far less than your drive. And those high-paying jobs? Prepare for a shock. The top 3 professions for millionaires in America are engineer, accountant, and teacher. Yes, teacher, a famously underpaid profession. This proves one of the book's most powerful points. It's not about how much you make. It's about what you do with what you make. In fact, 1/3 of millionaires never had a 6-figure household income in a single working year. 1/3 became millionaires without ever earning $100,000 annually. They simply understood a secret most people miss. So if these millionaires didn't inherit money, didn't get lucky with risky bets, and didn't have elite educations or massive salaries, how did they do it? Hogan's research uncovered that their success wasn't built on external advantages. It was built on 5 internal beliefs, 5 core attributes remarkably consistent across all 10,000 people. These aren't secrets. They're simple truths available to everyone. The first and most important attribute: they take personal responsibility. They own it. An incredible 97% of millionaires agreed with the statement, "I control my own destiny." They don't play the blame game. They don't make excuses about the economy, their boss, or their background. They believe their financial success or failure rests on their own shoulders. This isn't just positive thinking. It's a fundamental power shift. When you blame someone else for your problems, you hand them power over your life. When you accept responsibility, you take that power back. As Dave Ramsey says, if you're the problem, that means you're also the solution. This belief is the foundation for everything else. It's the decision to stop being a passenger in your own life and grab the steering wheel. The second attribute is that millionaires practice intentionality. They live on less than they make. Sounds simple, almost obvious, but the numbers show how rare this actually is. 94% of millionaires live on less than they make, compared to just 55% of the general population. How do they pull this off? It's not accidental. They're intensely deliberate. 93% of millionaires stick to the budgets they create. They don't just wing it and hope for the best. They have a plan for every single dollar before the month begins. They're deciding, not sliding. And this intentionality shows up in daily habits. The typical millionaire spends $200 or less per month at restaurants. 93% use coupons when shopping. 85% use a shopping list at the grocery store. Not because they're cheap, because they're focused. Every dollar not spent thoughtlessly can work for their future. The biggest display of intentionality? They despise debt. A mind-blowing 73% of millionaires have never carried a credit card balance in their entire lives. They pay cash, and if they can't afford it, they don't buy it. They drive used cars. Average is 4 years old with 41,000 miles, and 8 out of 10 have no car payments. They understand that debt steals your future, one interest payment at a time. The third attribute is that millionaires are goal-oriented. They think ahead. Becoming a millionaire doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of a long-term plan, consistently executed. 92% developed a long-term plan for their money. When they set a goal, they see it through. 97% say they almost always achieve the goals they set. One of their most powerful goals? Paying off their home. While most people resign themselves to a 30-year mortgage, the average millionaire paid off their home in just 10.2 years. 2/3 live in a house with a paid-off mortgage. Think about the freedom that creates. No house payment. That frees up enormous income that can be poured into wealth building. It's a goal that acts like a slingshot, launching them toward financial independence at incredible speed. Catherine from Seattle understood this. She grew up idolizing her pilot father and set a goal to become one herself, even when female pilots were almost unheard of. She worked years as a flight attendant just to stay in the industry, honing skills until she finally broke through. She applied the same goal-oriented focus to her finances. She set a goal for financial independence, cut back on every unnecessary expense, even skipped coffee because she could get it free on the plane, and poured every spare dollar into investments. Today, she's sitting on $3.4 million. Her goals weren't just dreams, they were promises she made to herself. The fourth attribute? Nobody wants to talk about it, but it's the engine behind everything. Millionaires are hard workers. In a world hunting for shortcuts and life hacks, the millionaires in this study built wealth the old-fashioned way. 93% said they got there through hard work, not big salaries. Nearly all 99% said friends and family would describe them as hard workers. But it's not just grinding, it's about attitude toward work. An amazing 96% enjoyed what they did for a living, with 64% saying they loved their jobs. Work wasn't punishment, it was fulfillment. That's why, even after becoming financially independent, 56% are still working in some capacity. They work because they like to work. It's part of who they are. Think of Mitch from Ohio. He learned to work on his family's 200-acre farm. That work ethic fueled a career as an air traffic controller, then back to farming and real estate after he lost his job in a strike. He and his wife Leah worked and invested side by side for decades. Today, their combined net worth is $9 million. Mitch's dad used to joke, "Isn't it funny how the people who work the hardest are the luckiest people?" It was never about luck. It was about embracing the grind. That brings us to the fifth and final attribute, the glue holding everything together. Millionaires are consistent. They stick to it. You can take responsibility, be intentional, set goals, and work hard, but if you only do it for a week or a month or even a year, you won't get there. Excellence isn't an act, it's a habit. 75% of millionaires make regular, consistent investing part of their ongoing finances. It's not something they do when they feel like it or have extra money. It's non-negotiable, month after month, year after year. They understand the almost magical power of compound interest, the eighth wonder of the world. They know time is the most powerful ingredient in the wealth recipe. This consistency extends beyond finances. It shows up in relationships. 80% of millionaires are married, and 63% are in a first marriage, significantly higher than the general population. 75% of those married have been together for an average of 32 years. They build wealth together, as a team. Look at Gary and Susan from Iowa. Gary grew up dirt poor, remembers his mother once cooking weeds from the garden because they had nothing else. He and Susan both became teachers on modest salaries. But they saved consistently, month after month. They set a goal to buy 320 acres of land. When they hit it, they set another, and another. Today, these two former teachers own 400 acres and have a net worth of $10 million. It wasn't one heroic act. It was a lifetime of small, consistent, disciplined choices. They just stuck with it. When you put it all together, the portrait becomes crystal clear. Everyday millionaires are people who believe their future is in their own hands. They're planners who live with intention. They're goal setters who follow through. They're hard workers who find fulfillment in the grind. And they're consistent, showing up day after day, decade after decade. They didn't win a lottery. They simply made a decision to reject the myths, ignore the crowd, and build a different kind of life, one small, disciplined step at a time. Stepping back from the lessons in Everyday Millionaires, what strikes me most isn't the financial advice. The advice itself is remarkably simple. Live on a budget, get out of debt, invest consistently in your 401k. We've heard versions of this before. No, the truly profound insight is that building wealth has very little to do with the stock market and almost everything to do with your character. It suggests a millionaire isn't just someone with a certain bank account balance. A millionaire is a certain type of person, someone who's cultivated habits of discipline, patience, responsibility, and foresight. The money is simply a byproduct of becoming that person. This is incredibly empowering. Your financial destiny isn't determined by your past, your parents, or your paycheck. It's determined by the choices you make today, by the person you decide to become. In a culture constantly screaming for more stuff, more status, more immediate gratification, this book offers a quiet, countercultural path, a path of delayed gratification, of living for the future you're building instead of fleeting present pleasures. It's not sexy, it's not fast, but as 10,000 millionaires have shown us, it's the proven path. The most beautiful part? What happens when you finally arrive? Financial independence, as Chris Hogan defines it, isn't about yachts and mansions. It's about freedom. Freedom to be available for people you love. Freedom to give generously to causes you care about. Freedom to use your time and resources to leave the world a little better than you found it. So how do you start today? You don't need a drastic, life-altering change overnight. Just take one small step. Here are 3 simple actions inspired by this book. First, take ownership by knowing your starting line. Take 5 minutes today to calculate your net worth. What you own minus what you owe. The number might be 0, might be negative. Doesn't matter. What matters is facing reality, taking responsibility. This is your point A. Second, practice intentionality by plugging one money leak. Look at your spending from the last week. Find one recurring non-essential purchase, daily coffee, unused subscription, takeout you could have cooked. Make a conscious decision to cut it and redirect that money, however small, into savings. This builds the muscle of intentionality. Third, practice consistency by automating your future. The easiest way to be consistent? Don't have to think about it. If you have a job, go to HR today and sign up for the 401k, even if it's just 1% of your paycheck. If you don't have one, set up an automatic $20 monthly transfer from checking to savings. The amount matters less than making your future a non-negotiable automatic priority. These small steps, repeated over time, build momentum. They turn ordinary people into everyday millionaires. It all begins with a single choice, like the one Sheila made at that book signing. A choice to believe a different future is possible and that you're the one who's going to build it. That was a summary of Everyday Millionaires by Chris Hogan. We've touched on the big ideas, but I'll be honest, a summary can only be a map. The real treasure is found when you walk the path yourself. The true power of this book is in the sheer volume of stories and data reinforcing its simple, profound message. This summary is your starting point, a tool to help you decide if this journey's one you want to take. If anything we've discussed has sparked something in you, I encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning financial strategies. It's about absorbing a mindset that can genuinely reshape your family's future for generations. The link's in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable and it gave you a new perspective, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It lets me know we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.